This is track 3, second day troopers, welcome. And I'm happy that these folks are going to speak about VShell. And I'm a big fan for track 3 of like case study talks. So, okay, this is what we found of a campaign. This is what it looks. These are the actors, and from that perspective, very happy you are here. Thank you for joining us.
Hello everyone, good morning guys. I'm Rintaro Koike and he is Kazuya Nomura. We are security researchers from Entity Security. This is our first time in Heidelberg. We are very pleased to be part of Troopers. We are both from Tokyo, Japan, and our company is based in Akihabara. As you may know, Akihabara is one of the most famous otaku towns in the world. If you are otaku, please feel free to say hello. Okay, let's get down. Today, we will talk about VShell malware. Do you know VShell? VShell is a multi-platform rat written in Golang. It was developed in the Chinese-speaking community, and for a period of time, its binaries were publicly available on GitHub. VShell is popular in the Chinese-speaking community and has been used by China Nexus threat teams and threat actors. In particular, ANC5174 is well known for using VShell. ANC5174 is a threat group also known as CLSTA1015. They originally operated as cybercriminals, but now they are an initial access broker providing initial access to organizations such as Chinese MSS. They target organizations around the world. In particular, they have compromised edge devices. More recently, in December last year, they exploited React to Shell. Okay. Here is a typical attack flow. First, they exploit a vulnerability and place a downloader or web shell in the target environment. For example, they have exploited vulnerabilities in various products, including Global Protect, Screen Connect, and Big IP. Then they use the downloader or web shell to execute a malware called Snowlight. Snowlight is a stager for VShell. In some reports, Snowlight and VShell are treated as separate malware. But in this talk, we treat Snowlight as the stager for VShell. Then Snowlight executed VShell. They use VShell to carry out post-compromise activity. In some cases, they also download and execute additional payload.
Hello, I'm Kazuya. Since I'm active as a DJ and composer in Japan, I'm really hyped about this venue, Hare02. I actually brought my laptop and headphones from Tokyo, so all I need is a DJ controller, so I'm ready to DJ anytime. So then let's unshell VShell. So this diagram shows the infrastructures of VShell. VShell consists of 3 main components, from left to right, C2 server, and admin panel, and client listener. The admin panel is protected by both JWT authentications and basic authentication. The attackers operate the VShell clients through this panel. The malware that makes up VShell is divided into 2 parts, a loader and called the stager, and the main body called the stageless binary. First, we focus on the left side of this diagram, and we focus on the C2 server. Here is the details of the VShell server. The server runs as a single Golang binary and comes with a configuration file containing default values. The most important field is the V key. The secret key is used for authenticate between the clients and server. So we focus on V key later in this talk. The table shows the configuration fields and their default values. And then we focus on the admin panel. We statically analyze the visual server admin panel and extracted the front-end source code of the admin panel. So the front-end is built using the view framework called view admin. Maybe it is used in Chinese. So this table shows a list of endpoints available in the visual admin panel after logins. Through this panel, it is possible to manage user settings for accessing the attacker-side control panel, as well as manage devices and listeners. So next, we focus on the client listener. Maybe you are very familiar to this view. So this is a very familiar Nginx default page. So the client listener of the visual server is used for communication between sheets and clients. So the client listener returns fake Nginx default page against a simple GET request. It can be used for hunting sheet servers. And a characteristic of the visual server is that by sending a TCP packet containing architecture information and the IP address of the sheet server, it is possible to download the stageless binary that has been XOR encoded with Rex 1999. This binary is not particularly packed, making it easier to analyze these samples. So if we send this packet, contains architecture information and IP address information, it returns the XOR binary. So this is a very characteristic response of visual listeners. So then we will explain a method for hunting visual sheet servers by leveraging the characteristic behavior in which visual servers return distinctive network responses. It is possible to discover sheet servers using scanning service such as Census and Showdown by specifying certain conditions. The conditions are combinations of two factors. Number one is the response pattern of basic authentications and the response pattern of the default Nginx page. So this fingerprinting is maybe very useful to hunting sheets and visual sheet servers. And then by sending a specific request to the identified sheet servers and confirming the response of the stage binary, it is highly accurate sheet detection can be archived. Next, we focus on the stager. So the stager is responsible for downloading and executing the visual payload, and it has been tracked by some intelligence sources as Snowlight. This name is believed to originate from the URL paths such as /SLT and /SWT. Maybe it comes from SLT comes from stageless Linux TCP binary, and SWT comes from stageless Windows TCP binary, which are used to users download endpoints for the stager. When executed, it is first disguises itself by using the process name kworker/02. It then checks for the existence of the file temps log _d log. Next, it establishes the TCP connections to the sheet servers and sends its system informations, including the architecture, for example, I64, along with a port number and IP addresses, to download next stageless binary. In response, the sheet server returns a L format visual binary encoded with XOR Rex99, which is a loader decodes and executes. A notable characteristic is the use of fileless executions through mfd create and fexecve, allowing the stageless malware to run without writing anything to disk. Next, we focus on the stageless binary. So this slide provides an overview of the visual connection protocol. In the visual, communication between the client and sheet server is carried out through three types of channels: conf channels and main channels and chan channels. First, the conf channel is used. This channel handles client authentications and authorizations to the sheet servers. At this stage, a session token is allocated and the client becomes visible in the sheet panels. Next is the main channel. This functions as controlled channels to maintain this session. It ensures that a persistence connection is kept between the client and sheet server. But it is maybe mostly unused for the client and sheet communication. So finally, the chan channel is used. So through these channels, a heartbeat is maintained via ping loops, allowing the client to be recognized as online. So in addition, this channel is used for command executions and file transfer and enabling the C2 server to operate the client. And this slide explains the packet structure used by VShare. In VShare, all packets share common encrypted structures. The first 4 bytes represent the total packet length in UINT32 little endian formats. This is followed by a 12-byte initial vector or nonce. After that, the payload body is appending along with a 60-byte authentication tag. And these components are encrypted using AES-GCM. The encryption key is derived from the MD5 hash of the salt value. A mismatch in the length field can cause the server to crash easily. This behavior is likely related to the Golang implementation. And this slide explains the authentication mechanisms used in VShare. In the VShare, the same authentication method is applied across all channels. Communication is encrypted using AES-256, and the keys is delivered from the MD5 hash of the salt value. The authentication process begins with the client sending its version information, followed by the server returning its own version. The server then responds with the MD5 hash of the received version value. Next, the client sends either the MD5 hash of the V key or the MD5 hash of the session tokens. Finally, the server returns a response indicating that authentication result. If successful, the server establishes a connection type, which can be conf, main, or chan. Overall, the communication is controlled through a hash-based authentication flow like that. And the conf channel is used to the client initially connects to the C2 server, and its main purpose is client registrations and transmission of initial system information. First, client sends a message consisting of the identifier conf along with the data length and system information in the JSON format. This system information includes details such as the local IP address, usernames, host names, operating system names, and process names. Upon receiving this data, the server responds with confirmation message labeled conf1 and conf2. After that, the server issues a session token to the client once this process is completed. The client is registered in the C2 panels and becomes visible and manageable through the admin panel. And the client sends its information to server in JSON format through the conf channel. The transmitted data includes detailed system information such as local IP address, usernames, host names, operating systems, and process name. Once the server accepts this information, the client is registered on the servers and becomes visible in the C2 panel. After registration is completed, the C2 server issues a session tokens to the client. This session token is used for subsequent C2 communication. This information is sent to the C2 server, and then it was accepted by C2 server. The client is visible in the admin panel, but still it is shows as an offline client. And next is the authentication flow of the main channel. It's almost the same as one described earlier. First, the client and the server exchange version information. After that, verification is performed using the MD5 hash of the version value. Next, the client sends the MD5 hash of the session tokens, and the server performs authenticate based on this value. If the authentication is successful, the server returns a response such as success, and the main channel connection is established. This channel connection is maintained over time. However, actual active communication such as command execution and online ping group is primarily handled through the subsequent chan channel. And so this is chan channel. So the chan channel is responsible for actual communications in VShare, including command execution and file transfer. First, the client sends the initial ping to the server. After that, a continuous ping loop is established, where ping message and their response are exchanged periodically. As long as the ping group remains valid, the client is marked as online in the C2 panel. So in the chan channel, communication is handled by a MUX protocol. I think this protocol is used for fill the gap between defined protocol options that VShell can use, such as TCP, UDP, and WebSockets. Each packet includes a flag value, which indicates the type of message being transmitted. For example, flag 0x00 represents a ping message used for liveness checks, while 0x08 represents ping return, which is a response. And flag 0x01 indicates new connection used to establish a new logical connection. And 0x03 represents data, which contains actual commands or response data. In addition, 0x05 corresponds to window for flow control. And 0x06 indicates that the connection is open. 0x07 indicates that the connection is closed. As shown, each flag defines a defined role, and the header structure varies depending on the flag type. And this slide explains the 3 header types used in the VShell protocol. In the VShell MUX protocol, the 3 defined header formats are used depending on the packet type. These formats are distinguished by the total packet byte length, specifically 5 or 7 or 30 bytes. The receiver determines how to pass each packet by checking these lengths and selecting the appropriate header format. For example, simple control message such as new connection, open, and close uses a 5-byte structure consisting of only a flag and a connection ID. On the other hand, packets that carries data such as ping and data and ping return uses a 7-byte header plus a body, including a flag, connection IDs, and length field. Additionally, the window packet, which is used for flow control, has a longer 30-byte structure that includes offset and size information. As shown, the structure clearly varies depending on the flag type, enabling efficient and flexible communication handling. And this slide explains the 5-byte header in the MUX protocol. And this header is used exclusively for control signals, new connections, opens, and closes, and carries no payload data whatsoever. The header structure is 5 bytes total, a 1-byte flag at the front, followed by a 4-byte connection ID. And the flag values a new connection, 0x01, open, 0x06, and close equals 0x07. As an example, an open signal for connection ID 1 is the byte sequence like 06, 01, 00, 0000. So the reading 06 is the open flag, and following 01, 0000 is representing connection ID equal 1 in Little Endian. So these control signals are used to announce the initiation, establishment, and termination of connections. And this slide explains the 7-byte header plus separate body format in the MUX protocol. It is used for ping returns, and data message. And its key characteristic is that the header and the body are sent as 2 independent encrypted packets. So the 7-byte header consists of 1-byte flag plus 4 bytes connection ID and 2 bytes length. The length field indicates the byte length of the body that follows as a separate packet. For ping and ping returns, connection ID is 0x FFFFFFFF, so it's a fixed values. And the body is a nanosecond precision timestamps. So in the example, the header is like 00FFFFFF, and the body is timestamp. And this is maybe 30 bytes, so this hexadecimal is described 30 in hex. So ping return is identical except it starts with 0x08 flag. And for data, connection ID is a logical connection ID, and the body is command JSON or response data. In the example, the header is 03, 00B2, 00, connection ID equals 3, and the body is 178 bytes. And the body is JSON such as connection type, so blah, blah, blah. And this slide explains the 3rd header format in the MX protocol, the 30 bytes header window 0x05. Window carries the flow control values and has no body packets. And the 30 bytes header consists of flags 0x05, 1 byte, and 4 byte connection ID plus 4 byte offset plus 4 byte size. The offset represents the cumulative received arc, and number of bytes received so far. And size represents the free space in the received buffer. The implements TCP-like sliding windows from controls. So, example, connection ID equals 3, and offset is 750, and size is 735,300. So this packet is showing like that. So each value is stored in little endian. So a key point is that receiver determines the header type by the total packet length. If the total length is 5 bytes, it is new connection open or close. If 7 bytes, it is ping or data or ping return. If 30 bytes, it is one window. The pseudocode at the bottom of the slide illustrates the decision logic, which flag describes what is type of its connection. So this channel sequence diagram shows how the 5 or 7 or 30 bytes headers explained so far combine in actual command executions. The key principle is one command equals one connections. Each command establishes a new logical connection ID over the MX protocol. A typical sequence is open to the new connections and window to advertise the receive window and send data by data headers plus data bodies and windows, so and response data and close connections each others and send window packet and window close for final acknowledgement and tear down. So in this way, the 3 header types seen on slides, these slides, works together to compare the exchanges of single commands. A defining feature of VShells is that the MX protocol multiplexes multiple logical connections over single TCP connections. And this slide explains the other behavioral characteristic of VShell. First, VShell has a feature where it automatically terminates execution if certain files are present. Specifically, it is checked for files such as /temp/logd.log and /temp/logd-0.log, as well as specific paths like homes, VBC, CSV, and terminates if they exist. These checks are likely mechanisms for environment detections or preventing multiple instances from running. In addition, the process is designed to terminate if wiki authentication fails. Furthermore, it has also been observed to stop executions when characteristics resembling a container environment are detected. Overall, VShell continuously evaluates its execution environment and selectively terminates itself under certain conditions, likely as a means to evade detections and analysis. So we have passed the most boring parts. I'm going to some off-topic slides. And isn't it incredibly hot in Heidelberg? So recently, so Tokyo is famous for its heat too, but due to the influence of a typhoon, it actually seems cooler there right now than Heidelberg now. So we have come from the cold place to a hot place, and we have to go back to the cold place again. So Tokyo will likely get hot soon. So I think it is something like the Bexel bath between hot sauna and cool down. So I'll be able to get wear conditions through this Bexel bath travel. So by the way, the Bexel bath is called Totonou in Japan. Saunas is currently trending in Japan too. And then we go to observations and result sections. At first, we explain how to extract configuration data from VShell. The configuration is encrypted using AES-128 CBC, and the encryption key is derived from the MD5 hash of the password. The analysis process begins by searching for specific byte patterns within the binary. For example, instruction sequence such as move ECX directs A00 and rep move SQ can be used as indicators to locate the configuration data in memory. Next, key-related information is retrieved from the surrounding region. In this structure, the first 16 bytes represents the MD5 hash key, and the remaining data corresponds to the AES encrypted configurations. Finally, by using these keys to decrypt data, it is possible to recover configuration details such as the C2 server address and communication settings. So this slide explains the hunting approach used to identify and analyze visual C2 servers. The first step is searching with senses. By using known indicators such as SHA-1 fingerprints, we can efficiently identify servers associated with visual. And next, we send a TCP request to identify the servers to fetch the binary. From the retrieved binary, we extract the configuration using the previously described method and analyze its behavior and communication endpoints. We also perform dynamic analysis in a sandbox environment. And finally, if attackers use default config, we can collect data from C2 servers. We collect data from various endpoints to investigate the infrastructures and the scope of the infection. And by following this step-by-step process from discovery to analysis and data collections, we can gain a comprehensive understanding of the C2 infrastructures. And this slide presents the results of our hunting activities. So, in our observations, we identified approximately 500 C2 servers active per day during the period from February 4th to May 31st. As shown in the graph, the number of active C2 servers fluctuates roughly between 500 and 900 daily, while the cumulative number of unique C2 steadily increases over time. In addition, due to OPSEC failure of the attacker side, we were able to retrieve data from approximately 30 C2 servers per day. This indicates that certain number of C2 servers remain accessible due to misconfigurations or weak authentication settings. So, overall, while the attacker operates a large and continuously evolving C2 infrastructures, this operational weakness provides opportunities to collect some intelligence. And this slide explains the time to live of C2 servers. Our observations show that C2 servers tend to remain online for a relatively long periods of time. And the median lifetime is approximately 50 days. And the graph on the left shows the survival curve, indicating that a significant portion of C2 servers continues to exist over extended periods. And the distribution on the right shows that the largest group of C2 servers remains active for more than 60 days, and highlighting a general trend towards longer lifetimes. So, these results suggest that visual C2 infrastructure is not rapidly rotated, but rather operated in a relatively stable manner. So, therefore, continuous monitoring and tracking of identified C2 servers can be an effective strategy for detections and analysis, maybe. And the chart presents a ranking of wikis based on how frequently that they appear across observable in C2 servers. One notable point is that simple strings such as the default QW123 QW is overwhelmingly common. In particular, QW123 QW is the most frequently observed wiki. In addition, many other wikis follow similar simple patterns, indicating that attackers are not using strong or complex key management. And maybe this suggests that default configuration is very used by the attackers. So maybe attackers is very avoid to fingerprint by the wiki or something. So, but some attacker uses their own original wikis. So it is very useful for fingerprints attackers. And next is an example. So. By combining port numbers and other similar configuration fields, we observed that C2 servers form cluster-like groups. For example, in the cluster using the wiki QW888QW, all associated C2 servers use port 60578, showing the consistent configuration patterns. Looking at the IP distributions, more than 500 hosts are concentrated within 208.87, 203.0 to 208.87 to 0.205.0 range, indicating a strong concentration within specific subnets. And in addition, these C2 servers are hosted under specific autonomous systems, such as Zonda Cloud and Cogent Communications LLC, suggesting they are operated on shared infrastructure. Each of these clusters consists of several hundred sheets servers indicating centralized management by a single operator or a group. These characteristics strongly suggest that vShell is not used in isolated cases, but rather operated at a scale by a large automated initial access broker. And by analyzing properties such as string length, hash-like patterns, and the presence of specific keywords, it may be possible to support attacker attribution or classifications. We also observed several interesting examples of wikis. For instance, some string contains geopolitical message reference to specific products, or even internet memes, which may provide hints about the attacker's background or internet. There are also examples that suggest financial motivations, as well as strings that appear to reference particular targets or organizations. Overall, wikis are not only used for authentication, but can also serve as valuable indicators for profiling attackers' behavior and objectives. This wiki is maybe Taiwan belongs to China in Chinese. So this wiki is in Chinese, insert toward 360 antivirus and similar. So, and this wiki is a Japanese meme, and this wiki means maybe want to earn more money in Chinese. And this wiki is default wikis, and following is a Brazilian government. So maybe it's targeting Brazilian government or something like. And so this is maybe Trump. So these wikis are very interesting. Next, we will explain the rotations of wikis and ports. Our observations show that across multiple sheets servers, wikis and port numbers are rotated over time. Even for the same IP address, different ports and wiki may be used during different time periods. This kind of configuration rotation likely serves to evade detections and trackings, while also helping to extend the lifetime of the servers. From the graph, we can also see that both default-like wikis and custom wikis are used together in operations. Overall, that indicates that vShell is not only relying on simple configurations, but also incorporates operational techniques to improve resilience and evasion. And this server is used very unique wikis and changes it very periodically. And this server is maybe using the default value or something very kind of something like that. And this server is still rotates some wikis and ports. So next is another example. So this server first uses original wikis, but this changes the wiki values to the default values. And this server changes wikis from unique values to unique values. And this server changes wiki values from default values to the original value. So maybe this causes the rotations or evading or something that like changing the operators, such as the initial access broker sells these infrastructures to the consumer. So something maybe it indicates something like that. And after this slide, we will explain our example of crawl results for an actual sheets server. The sheets in question has the IP address 164.201.69.169. It was confirmed that this server has ukshop.pix set as its listener domains. Also, the IP address that this domain resolves to may contain information related to attack groups. Furthermore, some information linked to UNSC 2727 and APT43 has also been found on these infrastructures, suggesting connections to known threat actors. The affected region including Hong Kong, Australia, Japan, and China. Additionally, there is a possibility that malware executions involved a decoy via the translation service UDAO, indicating that social engineering techniques might be used. And this slide shows a set of tools or runner deployed by the attacker in the C2 server. The file structure includes multiple .bat and .vbs scripts, forming an execution chain that launches a user translate application as a decoy while executing malware in the background. So legitimate applications icons are used to enhance the disguise, making the activity appear benign to the user. The payload includes executable that appears to support shellcode executions and possibly MSI bypass techniques, along with tools such as Mimikatz. Administrator accounts creation DLS, internal network scanners, and proxy tools like Ghost. These components indicate full operational capability, including lateral movement and persistence. Importantly, we also identified project1.exe at Windows, which is known to be associated with specific threat actors. This suggests that the attacker is not using only commandery tools, but also deploying malware that may support attribution to a particular actor groups. Overall, the environment goes beyond initial access and represents a full operational toolkit for post-exploitation activities. And highlighted one is the original tools by the attacker, maybe. So, and these are gray tools are default packages that vShell server is already included in. So this attacker is maybe using bat file as initial access and subscripts for the initial access, and using the Windows for the other activities, maybe. And this slide shows the process names used by the malware for the masquerading. The data was collected from the C2 server at 554, 201, 69, 169. So the table on the right lists of the process names used by the malware along with the frequencies of occurrence. We can observe names such as osiklo.exe, win32process.exe, and qbbrowser.exe, which are designed to appear similar to legitimate process. There are also randomly generated names suggesting an attempt to evade simple signature-based detections. Another important observation is that some of these names match the default file names available from the vShell C2 panel. This indicates the attackers may be using the tool as is, or that the infrastructure could still be in a testing or setup phase. Overall, analyzing these process names provides insight into the attacker's operational practice and levels of sophistication. So this type file name can be observed if we download the test samples by the admin panel. So something like that TCP Windows AMD64 connection protocol, OS, and architecture. So this file name can be observed if we download the binaries from the C2 panel directory. And we observed multiple servers where clients seems to have been deployed in a way that's suggesting testing activity. In the vShell C2 panel, clients' binaries are downloaded with automatically generated names in the format of protocol architecture, such as TCP Windows AMD64 or TCP Linux AMD64. So from this list, we can see binaries targeting multiple platforms, including Windows, Linux, and Mac OS ARM, indicating possible cross-platform testing or validation. We also observe file names with suffix as bracket1, which likely indicates the repeated downloads by a browser. So these patterns suggest that the activity could be infection testing or operational validation by the attacker, or potential red team style usage. So furthermore, identifying such test patterns may help uncover previously unknown attacker infrastructure. And this slide explains the evolutions of malware usage associated with this C2 infrastructure. The analysis focuses on the IP address 143.92.43.168. First, this infrastructure has been linked to activity referred to as Silver Fox, which was reported by Tengens. In addition, multiple samples related to this IP have been uploaded to a public malware sharing platform, indicating that this infrastructure has been actively used over time. One key observation is that the malware families used to have changed over time. Initially, Ghost Rat was observed, followed by a transition to Body Rat, and more recently to tools such as vShell and Fatal Rat. This evolution suggests that the attackers continuously adopting their tooling while maintaining the same infrastructures. In other words, this is not a short-lived setup, but rather long-term reusable attackers' infrastructures. So first, in this server, first we can observe the Ghost Rat, and then next, attacker changes to Body Rat, and attacker changes use to vShell, and the attacker changes to use Fatal Rat, maybe. So first, on public malware sharing platform, a vShell sample named security.exe have been reported. When we examine the actual sheets panel obtained from this server, we can see the same process name security.exe appearing in the client list. So in addition, this infrastructure has multiple submission records over time, and this sample is submitted by the various companies, various countries such as Bulgaria, United Kingdom, United States, China, France. And looking at the panel, there are multiple clients registered, but what rarely catches your eyes is the presence of samples that hint at the test specimens. Specifically, a machine with a host name desktop M8 NKG72, and the admin user has connected multiple times from different IP addresses. And the process being run is the default client name, TCP Windows i386.exe from the location info. There are indicates related to bitmaps, but since the same hostname shows up with different IPs, it seems more likely to be the testing rather than actual information. This kind of behavior hints that the attacker is probably just registering test samples to check things in their own environments. So this is test samples, maybe file name, and we search this masked IP address in the threat intelligence platform, but there are no malicious activities. So maybe it is a potential attacker's infrastructure. So we can hunting new attacker infrastructure such hunting methods. And from some C2 servers, we observed the multiple binaries of the defined sizes are being distributed. As shown in the chart, the majority of samples are around 7.5 megabytes, but there are also several smaller and differently sized binaries. There are several possible explanations for these variations. For example, they may result from downloaded failures or incomplete transfers, or from configureless or partially built binaries. In addition, misconfigured or improperly set up C2 servers may distribute binaries that are not fully or correctly built. And therefore, this difference may not necessarily indicate distinct variants, but rather reflects operational inconsistencies or build process issues. And in addition to the typical samples, we identified a larger sample of approximately 10 megabytes. Compared to the standard sample size of around 7.5 megabytes, this 10 megabyte sample shows several clear differences. For instance, the Go version used in the normal sample is 1.20, while the 10 megabyte sample uses 1.24, indicating a newer build environment. In addition, the versions of Gabo used for obfuscation is also newer in the larger sample. So furthermore, the version strength differs significantly. The typical sample uses 4.9.3. This is the last version of the vShell that was developed. So, whereas the 10 megabyte sample shows 0.1.1. So, and these differences suggest that this is not morally a build variation, but rather a separate variant of fork rebuilt from the older source code, maybe. When comparing the normal sample with the 10 megabyte sample, we can observe clear differences in the configuration keys. In the normal sample, short key names such as salt, L, and E are used, while in 10 megabyte sample, more descriptive keys such as encrypt salt, listen, and eBPF are used. This indicates that configuration in the larger sample is defined in a more verbose and redundant manner. Such redundancy suggests that the 10 megabyte sample may have been reviewed from an older or different codebase. Given these implementation differences, it is highly likely that the additional variants will continue to emerge in the future. So that concludes our presentation. So we successfully hunted and analyzed a large number of visual sheet servers on a daily basis. Our key findings are summarized in 5 points. And first is the visual sheet servers were hunted daily by the hundreds with samples reliably analyzed. And second is that detailed connection protocol between sheets and client was fully reviewed. And third is config-based attacker attribution was shown to be possible. And fourth is the host targeted and tools abused by the attackers were identified. And 5 is after sheets is configured, attackers tend to run infection tests in their own environment. We also note that the visual source code has been leaked, making it likely that variants and new versions will emerge going forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I have a question, but the group may have questions too. So I'll let you go first. If there are none, that's mine. I mean, VShell is a backdoor used by multiple groups. Is it particularly suited, would you say, for a specific purpose? Or could you identify it's mostly used, say, as an info stealer, or say, in which context from the different groups? What do you see it used for, mostly?
Again.
Okay. Did you see any, say, specific groups or purposes it was used for, like info stealing or getting crypto access? Or,
so we cannot observe the command history. So,
okay.
So what attackers did through the visual, so we can't observe. So, but maybe and
yeah, when you look at those, for example,
so
right.
This is a very close to the initial access. So maybe attackers use this visual as the initial access materials. So then if attackers deploys visuals, then maybe they deploys another malware to the persistence or something like.
Yeah. Okay. As this is, I mean, to me this looks a pretty standard, like Mimikatz and AMSI bypass, and so it has all types of users and for different groups. So is that okay? Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thanks again.
Thank you very much.